Hi, Justin with SGS Turf Care here. Just want to talk to you today about winter preparations for your lawn. We'll go over kind of the process of what the grass goes through, kind of a little science. We'll talk about mowing, talk about watering and fertilizing, and leaf cleanup. So first off, as the temperatures start to decrease, especially when you get those colder nights, the plant starts to go through a process called hardening off. And in essence, what the plant is doing is it's preparing itself for winter. And part of that hardening off process is it starts to build up sugars inside, which in essence act like an antifreeze. So they try to decrease their water intake, dry out a little bit, build up those sugars so they have a little antifreeze inside. So in order for the plant to do that, things that can counteract that would be a lot of rain in the fall or a lot of watering in the fall, which you don't want to do. And we're getting close to shutdown anyway for most people. And late fall fertilizations. You do hear a lot of marketing about winterization fertilizing. There really is no winterizer fertilizer. The best thing you can do in the fall is potassium applications because the potassium helps with the hardening off process, and you want to have low nitrogen applications. But if you go to some stores and whatnot and you see winterizer fertilizers, and if you actually look at the analysis on there, they're actually high in nitrogen and usually low in potassium, which is the exact opposite of what you really want for a winterizer fertilizer. It's really just a marketing tip, marketing play. Another thing, you see a lot of times people think I want to shave my lawn down and get it down nice and tight, and that's good for the winter. Well, yes and no. Remember, as I talked about before, the 1/3 rule. That applies especially now. You do not want to take more than 1/3 of that leaf blade off if you're going to mow it down. So for an example, if you typically mow your lawn at about 3 inches, you can take it down to 2 inches and be within the 1/3 rule and be okay. If you're typically mowing at 2.5 inches, maybe you want to take it down to 2. I wouldn't recommend going much lower than 2 inches. Ultimately what you don't want is you don't want 4-inch grass laying over and then you're going to get disease and snow mold and dieback like that. But you don't want to be going too low. If you're cutting it and then you're seeing brown or tan, you went too low. And you're ultimately hurting the plant in terms of it hardening off and doing what it needs to do. It needs that green leaf tissue to produce food, to produce those sugars, to produce that antifreeze. And if you cut it all off, it can't do it. Is it going to kill the lawn if you do it? Probably not. Is it really going to stunt it this fall and stunt it again in the spring and kind of get you starting behind the 8 ball? Probably. So don't go overkill with shaving down your lawn. Also, best practices, we say during the season, it's best to mulch your clippings because you're adding fertilizer, beneficial organic matter, you're feeding soil microbes and whatnot. As the leaves start to fall, right now they're just falling a little bit. We're in October 13th. Haven't really fallen that much. Mulching those little bit of leaves in your lawn right now is okay. As the leaves start to fall more readily and cover your lawn, you'd want to start picking those up is really the best practice if you have the ability to. If you continue to mulch all that leaf material into your soil, it's going to throw off your soil chemistry. And what it's going to do is there's what's called the carbon to nitrogen ratio in your soil. Ideally, you want that to be around 14-1. Well, when you're adding leaf matter in it, you're pushing it closer to like 40-1. So you want to try to avoid that. It is organic matter and it can be beneficial, but again, if you're throwing off that ratio of your carbon to nitrogen, you're not doing your soils any good. In essence, what you're doing is you're stealing nitrogen out of the soil to feed the microbes to degrade all those leaves, and then the plant doesn't have it. So again, blow them up, blow the leaves off, bag them, pick them up, but don't mulch them all fall long because you're really going to, in essence, throw your balance off, like I said, your chemical balance off in the soil and do yourself more harm than good. So, just to review, as we approach here in this fall, wean off the water, wean off the fertilizer. Don't shave it down too low. Keep the 1/3 rule in mind. And don't go crazy with mulching leaves back in the lawn. Follow these steps. You put your lawn to bed, as we call it, kind of really in good shape, and you'll start the spring strong. Thanks for tuning in.